Deft and Meiko will be the support and AD carry roaming around in the bottom lane.
Yeah, still no Koro on that roster, so it will continue to be Mouse. He's actually done a great job taking over for the top laner. He doesn't have that same split push or carry-oriented style that Koro does have the diversity to pull off, but he's shown a lot of different champion styles and is making it work for EDG in their 5v5s.
clearlove still the star player of the team so far. Great with his KDA, always impacting the map and always making sure EDG have a clear path to victory in all of their matches.
Even in EDG's single loss so far, because they are technically 4-1 in terms of 4 wins, 1 loss, his Evelynn I think was something ridiculous like 10-1. So even in defeat, clearlove is looking great, but it's this idea that looking great isn't enough for EDG anymore. They're technically slumping. They lost the last 2 LPL titles at the very end and then also lost the ability to represent at MSI. And for such a prestigious organization, probably the most dominant that the LPL has ever created, EDG are in this scenario where they're effectively chasing perfection, and they can no longer just go in and waffle games. Like this game, they have to crush it. They have to stomp it, or people are going to be scratching their heads.
And the team they're going to be wanting to try and dominate in this best of 3 series of the first match of the LPL is going to be Saint. If we take a look at their lineup very quickly, it is going to be Acorn up in the top lane. No more Chimin in the jungle. Instead, it's going to be Captain, where Snoopy will be playing in the mid lane. styz and Shield will be the bottom lane duo, as we have Chimin as the substitute this time around, and Otto being a substitute coming into game number 1.
I know you're a big fan of Captain, or excuse me, of Chimin, and you were kind of curious of where he had been. I'm more so scratching my head over Snoopy. I think it is very clear and very easy to say that Otto is the superior mid lane in terms of performance to Snoopy. I'm glad that they finally upgraded styz over XQ, because I think styz is a phenomenal player. He's been getting target bans. He got his Caitlyn one time in the game against Invictus Gaming and made them pay for it. So I like the direction the team's going there, but they need to sort out their mid lane. I don't think Snoopy is the answer. Otto played great against Rookie.
And you know, you did mention I'm a very big fan of Chimin in the jungle from formerly HOG, now Saint, but to be honest, Captain played pretty well in that jungle position for the lineup, especially in those matches against Invictus Gaming, and that is a big question coming from Saint here, because we've talked about them being one of those comeback teams, a team that does very well when they can fight from behind and in those like 5% chances where they can come back in games. We saw it against Invictus Gaming. It was still a struggle for them to close out, but they haven't really hit their skill potential so far in the split of the LPL.
It's this idea that if you look across so much of the talent on that roster, Otto, styz, like their careers were hyped up to be amazing, that they could reach like all of this greatness, you know, maybe contest people like Wei Xiao or Zutai when he was a mid laner, and kind of develop into LPL dynasties. And unfortunately, they never peaked to that ceiling. They never reached it. They were either relegated or benched or moved into LSPL, and they kind of faded away and now have come back into this, like you said, this comeback or this revenge team in tandem with Acorn. So the theory of if they play to the expectations that were there, could be amazing for this team. But so far, it just pretty much looks like a new roster trying to figure out their synergy together and not quite getting it cohesively. And now they're facing across from probably one of the best teams that they'll ever face.
Well, they're placing off against EDG. It's a mountain to climb for this Saint lineup, but let's see if they can throw any curveballs at one of the strongest teams in the LPL in game number 1 of this best of 3 series. Champion Select has already gone underway. The bans have been completed for the 2 sides. It's going to be Azir, Nidalee, and Rek'Sai being taken away by EDG, whereas Trundle, Maokai, and Fizz being taken away by Saint, which means we are going to see Kindred and Ryze both being left up in this game.
Yeah, I do want to take a moment to point out Rapid Star, the drafter for EDG, still with the team. You can see them in the camera behind him. Obviously, we're now looking at Saint, but when it looks back at EDG, EDG had a really rough draft phase kind of last split. I think it cost them a couple of games, particularly in the final against RNG. Was pretty questionable. Seems to have shored up a bit. And obviously, they have some plan for this Saint second rotation Ryze Swain.
Ryze Swain, 2 incredibly strong champions that we see constantly first picked in the LPL as well. Going to be given over with this interesting ban phase coming through for the team. 3 top lane / 1 support bans coming out from Saint. There's a lot of target bans towards the jungle coming out from EDG in this match so far.
Yeah. So with Swain, we've talked about how you need to have a lot of pressure on the map underneath him, simply because Swain makes the most out of his power when he's able to be pushed forward and punish you underneath tower with his 2 damage over time abilities, the Torment and the, Decrepify, his Laser Bird. Whereas Ryze, you know, typically has kind of a rough early lane phase depending on the matchups that he gets, particularly against someone like Azir. See if Viktor can maybe apply a bit more pressure.
He's one of the other S-tier control mages that we see very popular in competitive play at the moment, besides Azir. It's going to be locked in for the side of EDG.
I think this was a mistake.
And they're going to take Karma as well, their support champion for the match.
So the issue that I have right now is, yes, you have Karma, so you have a lot of mobility, but I think Sivir is so key right now for Saint. I know that styz has a preference to go for his Caitlyn. He's a legacy Caitlyn player. But Sivir assists Ryze and Swain out so much because what they're lacking is the ability to get into a team fight. Unless Ryze has Flash, it's pretty much you're relying on hard CC coming from other avenues. And unfortunately, with a Swain top laner, you don't have that unless you hit the Never move. So Sivir would really help this out.
For now, though, they're going to lock in Lee Sin as their jungler of choice as they still wait to select their AD carry, it seems, looking for their bottom lane duo to round out their team composition. Usually, we see a lot of last picks coming in for styz from the lineup, but instead this time around, they're going to lock it in first and leave this support as the final pick, as Lucian is going to be the pickup coming in for Saint.
Still gets a priority champion for him. Again, we've seen in the past in Victor's Gaming, target banning 2 AD carries at Saint to try to keep styz down. He had quite a reputation following him around when he formerly played for LGD. Unfortunately, was benched from the team and never got to complete his destiny. Now back, can he do it?
We'll have to see if he can against EDG. This is a tough matchup. We've harped on it time and time again, but it's an absolute mountain to climb for Saint to coming into this game. We'll have to see what EDG decide to round up their already powerful team comp with.
Other side, though, I mean, Saint don't really have a lot of expectations here.
Yep.
I mean, they're facing against the best team that the LPL has ever created. No one really expects them to win here. They haven't shown well in their first initial weeks in the LPL.
And we talked about this a little bit, how it's kind of a lose-lose matchup for EDG. You know, if they lose the game, that's terrible. If they win the game, it's not all that great for them. They have to actually dominate in order to pick up what is conceived as a victory for the lineup. As you take a look at EDG's lineup quickly, Ezreal and Ekko are going to be their 2 final pickups coming into game number 1.
And this is the thing about Mouse. So Mouse has played Fizz, Ekko, Maokai, Trundle, I mean a whole barrage of top laners, but he plays them in the exact same style. So even though these are very different champions in terms of one could be a carry, you know, split pushing, your flanking tank, he plays as a secondary support. Which I find very interesting, and I'm waiting to see if a top laner will be able to really punish that against EDG. And Acorn's actually playing in form. He played a very nice Fizz against IG, so see how he does with this Swain pick into the Ekko.
Swain is already a very dominating top laner, so we have to see what he can do in this matchup, with Thresh being the final pickup coming in for Saint. So they're going to round out their bottom lane with the Lucian Thresh lore lane, a very strong bottom lane combo ever since these 2 champions have been released into competitive League of Legends play.
Did you just call them a lore lane?
It is the lore lane.
The wife steal lane?
The wife steal, as Atlas likes to call it.
I've never heard someone... Excellent, thank you. The thing that I want to point out is the bridging of power that Saint have on their roster. So they have a very strong 2v2 with the Lucian, with the wife steal bot lane, like you were saying. But it's about this Lee Sin. I'm curious if Captain is just going to power farm to level 6 and then try to rock up into a lane with his ultimate power spike, or if he's going to try to have really early pressure and get this Swain snowballed ahead.
Well, let's see what Saint can do against EDG in game number 1 of this best of 3 series. We're going to go straight onto Summoner's Rift. And we have loaded on to Summoner's Rift for game number 1 between EDG and Saint here of day 4, week number 2 of the LPL. And all the champions going to be running straight onto the rift, probably going to be fanning out, scouting for vision right as we start this game.
So the question will be where these two junglers strike first. Now we have Captain on one side on the Lee Sin. clearlove did get his Kindred. We've talked about clearlove's KDA at length. It's currently sitting at 14.2, so this guy is starting to be a monster. As you can see the keystones available on your screen. Now, EDG have a priority over their bottom lane. They've changed out their two solo laners, Pawn for Scout, Koro for Mouse, and the identity of the team has actually retained. So it just goes to further prove that this team is clearlove, deft, and meiko at its core. And then their solo laners can effectively be whoever you want and do whatever you want. That said, Ezreal and Karma versus Lucian and Thresh, like Kindred to gank that lane, yes, there's kill potential there, but it's not as cut and dry as trying to save the Ekko against the Swain and making sure that Swain can't just get to his big, beefy, tanky form. So I'm curious if EDG are going to put aside their priority of the bot lane to try to help Ekko out early, or if it's going to be another same old tank mouse and just continue to pressure bot.
Well, we'll have to see where these two junglers send their focus to this early into the game, as we are going to see standard lanes here. AD carry supports head down into the bottom lane. This is very cheeky. Coming in from EDG. Saints opting to try and take down the Grump camp at level 1. Whereas EDG just camping inside of the bush here right off the bat, trying to get the jump onto these two champions as they move into lane. They're not going to be suspecting this. Meiko and Dev biding their time, jumping straight on top of them. They're actually going to miss the Q coming out from Karma. And Saint, they're going to hit level 2 first. Lucian going to try and fight back, but Thresh, he's already been ignited. Meiko looking to try and put some damage down. Lucian getting taken down really low. A few more auto attacks, pokes them out of lane. EDG sneaking their way into lane at level 1.
Kind of a cute play right there, obviously being really forward. You are correct that the big issue, though, is that Karma's Magic-empowered Q didn't connect. I think she just tagged styz on the very back half of it. But it does force them out of lane, which means that the experience advantage gained by doing Gromp on styz's Lucian is pretty much null and void because they're going to miss a... Oh, nope, they've stayed around.
Still, they're going to...
Still going to be punished, though, because their pots have been eaten up. So they are at EDG's mercy. So Ezreal, Karma, and complete control. And meanwhile, clearlove typically likes to shadow underneath his bot lane when they're pressured forward anyway, but he also picks up a mark on the Scuttle Crab.
On top of that, he's going to be able to take the blue buff away from Saint's captain, who's making his way towards the top lane. No wards to be put down just yet, so Mouse has to be a little bit careful of this Lee Sin. But he's going to be able to back away, and Lee Sin's might lose his blue buff, it seems. Nope, Kindred just heads back in towards his jungle.
Really good awareness and heads-up play from Mouse, though, not to give any sort of counterplay option to Saint, and making a very early back here. But we asked the question, would clearlove continue to favor and nurse his bot lane? Obviously, he hasn't ganked it, but there's a lot of control already put down for Deft and Meiko here.
We can already see Deft and Meiko dominating this bottom lane, constantly poking towards styz and Siu. All of their potions have been used up. Meiko still has a couple of his. And Deft not in any danger at full health with the Doran's Blade constantly providing some lifesteal. As clearlove, he's going to be able to take away his own red buff.
Eventually the back was forced out of styz right there, which again, it goes back to the fact that they don't have any of the potions. It will mean that he has an item buy initially, although it's going to be answered by Deft and Meiko right now. I expect Ezreal will go into the tier, so technically still battle advantage to styz. But we'll see how this evens out. So far, that initial level 1 play has gained him about a 10 CS lead or about a wave lead.
You have to look at what battle advantage styz is going to get coming into the lane. It's just a longsword up against the tier, so not going to be that difficult for Deft to continue going toe-to-toe in this lane, with Karma helping him out left, right, and center. As we take a look towards the mid lane for the first time this match, Scout playing rather aggressive. He's actually going to push towards his turret, but Snoopy, he's going to get jumped on by clearlove. Flashes aggressively forward, looking for it. Going to get the bite down. A couple more auto attacks would be able to take Snoopy down. Red buff is going to tick, but it's not going to be enough. clearlove almost picking up that kill.
Yeah, really nice route for Snoopy to save his life, and a bit of a miscommunication between Scout and clearlove, as now Meiko finds Captain.
It took him quite some time there. Captain was waiting for him inside of the brush, but just lets him walk around for a little bit. Doesn't manage to hit the Q, and Meiko's able to run out of the pit. Seal now. We're going to see if he can get the hook down onto Meiko. Completely whiffs that one. But Saint being a little bit proactive, looking to try and find picks inside of EDG's jungle.
Yeah, that was a very cute play, knowing that Meiko would have to return to the lane and trying to set up a cheeky death sentence over the Dragon Wall. So good heads up by meiko to dodge it, but again, it just speaks to this veteran experience that a lot of individual players on Saints roster have. It's now just making sure that we can get all that experience moving in the same direction.
No surprise at the moment, EDG currently lead in terms of CS compared to Saint. Bottom lane is a huge deficit with a massive wave pushing towards Deft's turret. He's going to be able to farm up a Storm against styz. Top lane actually relative even as we check in with Mouse and Acorn up there. Swain, normally we see dominate this matchup, is in fact going almost toe-to-toe against this Ekko.
It's because Swain isn't posturing to be dominant in the matchup. Again, to do so, Swain has to push you forward and get you underneath your tower, because what he does is he lays down his Laser Bird and his Torment while you're trying to CS under tower and then just walks away. And you have to choose between taking the AO or the damage over time in that AoE Laser Bird or taking your creeps.
And we see as well clearlove doing what clearlove does best, which is outfarm his opposition's jungle.
Quickly motioning at the top lane, should be noted that Mouse used the Ekko relocation, so using his ultimate to reposition himself back up into the top lane and get a cheeky back in, which means that he won't have to expend his teleport. So there is an opportunity where EDG could force Acorn back, get a TP advantage, and try to use that elsewhere on the map. But so far, clearlove's still playing to bot side.
Still trying to focus as much towards the bottom side of this river as possible as captain. He's going to get spotted out by this ward, trying to take down the pink ward of EDG. clearlove going to try and jump towards the Lee Sin and get some damage down, but the Dark Passage coming out from Seal will take captain to safety as he moves back towards the bottom lane. clearlove also clearing out a couple wards in the bottom lane river. As look at this, that's very aggressive coming in for Snoopy. They're trying to get the jump onto Scout, puts the gravity field down, will lock down the Ryze for a short amount of time.
Snoopy still doing fine in this lane, hasn't been punished for his lack of flash, although as I say that, clearlove.
He's going to look for it as the exhaust actually comes down from Scout. Chaos Storm gets put on top of the Ryze as well, and First Blood goes on over towards Scout.
And what we were talking about is the fact that this flash had already been burned previously by a clearlove gank with red buff, so clearlove making sure that he follows up before the cooldown is up and available.
And a good start overall coming from EDG. All their lanes doing pretty well this early into the game. In fact, Saint just looked like they're trying to slow down the bleeding coming from this laning phase so far. Captain hasn't been able to have any impact in this game just yet, unlike clearlove, who's been all over the shop at the moment.
Yep, Saint have just been really reactive to a lot of EDG's plays. Again, little plays like that dragon setup, trying to find their ways back into it. clearlove's done a great job. He's actually controlled both Rift Scuttlers. The only bright spot for Saint right now on the map is actually in that Swain Ekko matchup. So it's not much, but it is starting to bleed over towards Swain, getting that CS advantage. And obviously, if you don't slow down this Swain, he's going to get that really obnoxious 3-item power spike where you just can't kill him and you can't gank him. So window of opportunity closing a little bit to punish Acorn. But this is the TP discrepancy. So Acorn's now used TP back to lane because Mouse used his ultimate. There is a TP advantage for EDG on the bot side.
Well, we'll have to see if Mouse can use that effectively here. On the side of Saint, though, Snoopy still has his teleport up and available. Scout took Exhaust into this matchup, so he can still try and match anything that Mouse tries to create here. Is styz actually going to take a little bit of damage from the poke coming out of meiko and deft? This bottom lane is still going heavily in favor of EDG.
They had a ward, and they walked into that.
Silly Sue. And styz.
Interesting. But yeah, they have a pink ward in Tribrush, and they were pretty far up on the wall. I mean, it used to be where the enemy team would pink in that brush, and then if you couldn't contest the pink, you would place a ward at the very tip because the pink wouldn't reach it. And so you can continue to kind of get safety from that jungle path, but Deft was actually really high up on the wall. So I'd be really surprised if that ward didn't see them.
Well, we can also take a look now at the two lineups that Saint and EDG have here. You can't discount the fact that Saint, in all three of their carry positions, they've got what could considered to be one of the best champions for all those positions. They got Swain up top, who's absolutely obnoxious once he gets his couple of items. Ryze as well, who is permanently banned in most of the matches. We've only seen a handful of games being played with him in the LPL so far. Lucian, one of the first picked AD carries in the tournament at the moment.
Yeah, but what EDG have is they have a lot of Kite on their composition. So you've got Kite and Ekko, Kindred, as well as Ezreal. And again, the thing that Saint are missing in their comp, although I do agree with you, Lucian, Ryze, and Swain are all very big priority, is the ability to lock down, to have consistent hard CC. It's entirely on this Lee Sin here in Captain. to set up and start these fights.
Both junglers actually mirroring each other at the moment. Shield looking to try and get a jump on towards deft. The play does come out onto the Ezreal. Meiko taking a lot of damage. He gets hooked up, gets taken down by styz. Double teleports being used. Shield ticks with the ignite. Deft able to pick up that kill. Mouse is down here first and actually forces Saint to back away. They just trade supports in the bottom lane.
We talked about that TP advantage. That was Mouse trying to execute on it. Unfortunately, isn't able to find any follow-up kills, but it will mean that EDG take a very early Infernal Drake.
On top of that, we also see the teleport being expended by Snoopy. He decided to cancel that and stay in the lane, but like you mentioned, Infernal Drake will go on over towards EDG, and it's going to be a Mountain Dragon spawning as the second dragon of the game.
Naturally, the Infernal Drake on EDG's composition isn't the most beneficial. If you look at someone like Ezreal comparatively to pretty much any other AD carry who could build more flat AD, but always a nice thing to have in your back pocket. It'd be nice for Kindred.
Yep. Probably Viktor as well. We'll pick up a little bit more AP as this game goes on. In fact, taking a look at his items, he's upgraded his Hex Core quite massively at the moment, completing that one rather early. Ryze, on the other hand, still looking to try and complete his Rod of Ages, has the blasting one, looking for his other components. Swain already has that Rod of Ages up in the top lane against the Spectre Skull coming in for the Ekko. Whereas in bottom lane, we can see Ezreal looking to try and complete his Iceborne Gauntlet first before going for the Muramana, and the Yomis Ghost Play Black Cleaver build is going to be coming out of styz.
I feel like Lucian's build paths and the flexibility, as well as his ability to compete in a lane swap as well as a 2v2, has really cemented him as kind of that best S-tier AD carry right now in the meta. Although I actually think Ezreal's in a really cool spot. So AD carries on 6.10 aren't meaning as much as they used to. It's much harder to just straight carry from that position. So I feel like more AD carries are shifting towards kind of a utility role. We're seeing the rise of Sivir, especially in the LPL, come back. A couple of pocket Ashe picks. And Ezreal fits this really nice niche due to his build, where he's still outputting crazy amounts of late game damage, the likes that can compete with someone like Lucian, as well as offering his team a lot of that utility and safety.
We actually saw during that time how in the mid lane there was a dive being threatened by EDG, but good positioning from Snoopy. Managed to get himself out of that. Acorn and Mouse just duking out in the top lane. Swain, he doesn't care about damage. He is level 6, just turns on his ultimate and heals it all the way back up to full health.
Yeah, we're to that point where there's not a lot that Mouse can really do, although if Acorn continues to face check into him.
He's going to take a little bit more damage than what he would like, but still will be able to heal up quite nicely.
But we're now starting to see kind of the discrepancy between them, and now it's a question of what can Acorn do with this lead that he's been given on Swain.
Going to check back in towards the bottom lane. We saw Deft earlier put out a very sneaky play, hiding in the fog of war, using his True Shot Barrage to get a clip on towards Toys. Not Toys, styz.
Calm down, we're not in that region.
I'm looking too far ahead in the other screen. His name looks like Toys to me there.
We know where your heart really lies, Fish. You don't have to lie. It's fine.
For now, very quiet game here from what we expected to be a very one-sided dominant game coming in from EDG. They haven't quite turned on the switch just yet against Saint.
Turn on the switches online in the bottom lane. Yeah, the rest of the team hasn't really gotten in there, but Deft is definitely, that switch is, that's on.
He's still about 6 CS ahead of styz, so a single wave advantage coming in for the Ezreal so far.
It's more so just his aggressive positioning, the fact that he's forcing styz to compete for every single CS. Doing a great job stacking up his tier, has a lot of power with the Sheen, which is why both junglers are responding to this. So clearlove's here because he's just trying to shadow over top Deft and meiko. He knows that they'll probably be in trouble. Captain's here because he's trying to dig his bottom lane out.
That was very aggressive coming for Deft. It actually takes styz really low, forces the flash coming out for the Lucian as well. Unfortunately, will get hit by Seal. Now Seal looking for a gank onto meiko, so to speak. Deft managed to pick up that kill. Meiko still managed to stay alive throughout that engage.
And the brilliance of this is how Deft is using his ultimates. This is actually something that Reginald used to do and one of the first players to do it. As an Ezreal, when you used to play at mid lane, instead of throwing your True Shot Barrage in line of sight, back up into Fog of War and throw it. It makes it much easier to hit because they can't see it. It's also the reason why when pros are being chased by Lee Sin, you see them throw wards behind them.
We actually see a flank coming into the mid lane. Snoopy going to get jumped on here by Scouts and clearlove. Double teleports coming down as well as Acorn going to take the brunt of the damage. Clearlove has to use his ultimate to stay alive here as Captain. Will be able to use the shield to jump out of that laser, but now Acorn, he's going to be locked down by the gravity field. Going to take a lot of damage here. Runs out of mana to continue using his ultimate, but still able to flash out of there.
Is the switch turned on enough for you yet, Fish?
I'm pretty confident in saying yes. They're about 2,000 gold ahead now.
Oh, Deft may be caught out, though. Doesn't have his Iceborne Gauntlet.
There comes the ultimate
He's
coming in
dead.
for STYZ. Deft going to take a lot of damage here. Blue buff transfer goes over to STYZ.
Really nice pickup from STYZ to catch Deft unawares, alone in the river, didn't have enough mana to escape, didn't have his summoner spells, and more importantly, didn't have that Iceborne Gauntlet. It now will be completed upon this back, and just in time for this Mountain Dragon spawning in 1 minute.
Saint though looking to try and put as much damage on towards the spot lane outer turret while they're waiting for the bottom lane from EDG to get back into the lane itself. They might actually be able to take it down because there's nobody from the side of EDG down on this lane to try and stop that from happening. Captain, in the meantime, looking to try and get the jump on towards Mouse, who's going toe-to-toe with Acorn, forced to use his ultimate to get away. The Q's not going to be landing coming in from Lee Sin, as we do eventually see the bot lane outer turret fall. Two-shot barrage going to cancel their recalls. We still see Mouse actually running away. Should be able to get over the wall, and Captain not going to be able to continue chasing this Ekko any longer.
Of course, stalling out these recalls even by a few seconds would mean that EDG have a bit more time to get towards this Dragon Pit to start laying down their vision. Clearlove, however, is in the top lane, so really trying to even out a lot of the pressure that Mouse just felt.
Deft, meanwhile, like you mentioned, he was able to pick up his Iceborne Gauntlet. Once again, though, the gold lead that EDG created with that first fight has been nullified here after that tower pickup. The only turret in the game has fallen, and it's over towards Saint. About 27,000 gold each, or 26,000 gold each at the moment.
But we see the immediate ping go down to that tower. So right now, Saint have initiated a lane swap. They're sending and unlocking STYZ to start moving him around the lanes and sieging more structures. However, this will mean that it's going to be a 1-for-1 tower trade in the end because Swain's too slow getting back here. Actually, Shu.
Faking them out.
I know, with the fake lantern saves his tower. Really nice play from the former OMG support, but it is just going to be a stiff breeze before that goes down. More importantly, though, is that EDG have more power on the bottom side of the map to contest for this Mountain Drake if it comes down into a full 5v5.
Well, let's see if they're going to be able to take that one. So far, clearlove very content with just farming out his jungle. He's still slightly ahead of Captain at the moment in terms of CS, but not a crazy advantage at the moment.
They're actually just going to put clearlove in the lane and I think try to brute force this one down. It means that all Scout has to do is be pushed forward against the Ryze and make sure that Snoopy can't rotate over when they move into River for Dragon.
Well, Scout is coming back.
Or he's just going to do it himself.
Scout is coming back into lane with the needlessly large rod and a Negatron cloak, so definitely good items to go toe-to-toe with Snoopy. STYZ and Shieldo trying to take down the top lane outer turret as Mouser Dragon is going to fall on over towards clearlove, who sneakily jumps over towards the pit and will be able to pick up that objective. The third dragon to spawn in this game will be a Cloud Dragon.
Means that we know that all three types of the dragons in the game, due to the four is a crowd rule, so it will be Infernal, Mountain, and Cloud. Still one tower lead for Saint.
And Saint actually looking decent so far this early into the game. You know, EDG have been rather dominating and controlling throughout the rest of the map, but a couple of CS advantages here and there, especially up in the top lane, which is going heavily in Acorn's favor at the moment. 30 CS ahead of Mouse means that they actually tie up the gold lead, even though the turrets are 1-2 in favor of Saint right now.
Again, it goes back to this idea of can Acorn do anything with the gold lead that he has, or will an Ekko be far more effective in team fights? Mouse has this identity that it won't be a split push Ekko, although I'm sure he can draw pressure and be annoying, but he's kind of identified himself as more of a team playing top laner about self-peel and protecting the AD carry. May have a scuffle over the Rift Herald, however.
clearlove just going to leash it out of its pit for quite some time there. Will be able to proc the eyes. He tries to get the jump on towards Captain, who leaves over towards his ward to get out of harm's way from this Kindred. Blood Razor has been completed by clearlove, so going to be dealing a lot of magic damage on him.
And really aggressively trying to set down triangle vision in Saint's red side jungle.
clearlove desperately trying to take away these Raptors as well. Will be able to smite it away and give himself the Raptor sense as three members of EDG move towards the pit one more time here, but clearlove not looking to try and take down this Rift Herald anytime soon.
Yeah, just continue to control the area, pick up the free CS on deft, reset your side lanes. You have a very extended Ekko right now. And look to find advantages other ways. The easiest tower for EDG to contest right now would be that top tower, unless they want to hold that wave and try to allocate as much farm as possible onto deft.
It gives us some time to check in with the items here as the teams are just looking like they want to farm up for the next few minutes here. Ezreal already completed the Iceborne Gauntlet, and Manamune also picked up the Executioner's Calling here.
Having that grievous wounds available for when the Swain becomes a true problem.
Speaking of Swain, he only has that Rod of Ages as clearlove, actually trying to do something cheeky. He jumps over the wall, tries to find shield, actually going to get locked down, forced to pop the ultimate early, flashes back in towards his ultimate, as that's a 5-man stack coming in from Saint, even force a flash coming in from Meiko.
Way too aggressive from clearlove right there, and we see the pick of the Lee Sin, as in response to Kindred, actually kicked him off of the Lamb's Respite, forcing clearlove to use his summoner to try to get back on top of it, but great play from Saint.
And Saint slowly getting back in towards this game. You know, it's been rather even throughout this entire match, which is a match we expected EDG to be very dominant in against Saint here. They've been holding out quite nicely so far.
Well, the thing about EDG is they play a very long lane phase. Yes, we've had that broken down now, but it's, 21 minutes before we're starting to see actual skirmishes and kind of big 5v5s taking place. And that's actually where Saint are strong. Again, you have a lot of experience and a lot of legacy players on the roster. Their issue is working together because it is still a new roster in terms of these players playing together. So EDG's style of staying in lane phase actually empowers Saint just fine.
You know, that's a lot of praise that we gave towards HYG in the spring split. Now Saint, coming from the LPL, they were known to be a very strong laning phase team, and continuing to do that here, showing that they can do just that. But yeah, EDG, we talked about it a few times. They just don't look as dominant as we expected them to be coming into this game so far, and that might just be because of that elongated laning phase.
I still think they're dominant. I mean, obviously, the game isn't snowballing as far as head. There was a missed opportunity by using the advantage that Mouse had on his TP and not executing maybe as cleanly. They still got the Infernal Drake off of that, but it would have meant obviously more if you're able to pick up all of those kills, take the tower, and then the Infernal Drake. But technically, EDG are still in a fine position. Right now, Saint's itemization, particularly on styz, is up and online. So it makes sense that EDG wouldn't want to rush headlong into fighting them because we're still waiting on Deft's tier to be completed and stacked up before he has his true 2-item power spike.
And Saints on the other side, they might be pretty content with just farming out against EDG here and, making sure they stay even for as long as possible. Because if you take it to late game,
right now.
Yeah, they want to take. They want to fight. We've proved that when clearlove was being really aggressive, but staying even with EDG 21 minutes into the game, definitely something they could be pretty happy with at the moment.
Yeah, they've done good. Again, it's these tiny plays, again, around the dragon, the one that they just pulled on clearlove that they should be able to hang their hat on. But Saint, they do want to fight. Yes, they're waiting for a late game Ryze, but their Lucian, styz, and kind of the guy who's been the primary carry for this roster, he's ready to go.
Yep. He's got his 2 items completed, Yoma's Ghostblade and Black Cleaver for styz. He's got 3 kills as well, was able to survive the very dominant laning phase. The Scout going toe-to-toe with Snoopy one more time actually gets the better of that trade. We'll take a look at the items really quickly. We can already see Ezreal has completed that Muramana, so big spike coming out for the side of EDG, and also looking to completing his Mortal Reminder with the last Whisper pickup.
And that's going to be the big key item and probably the go button. So Dragon will be spawning in 1 minute and 30 seconds. And so you effectively have a window of a single minute where get as much farm as possible, get your initial backs, and then go into a 5v5. And I have a feeling that this is where we're going to see either Saint or EDG really swing the course of the game.
On the flip side, Snoopy's picked up his Seraph's Embrace that has just been completed for the Ryze. His Rod of Ages will be stacking quite nicely for him too. Top lane, Swain has the Negatron Cloak as well as the 2 major items for Swain, the Rod of Ages and the Zhonya's Hourglass. No Spirit Visage just yet. And only 1 Spirit Visage in the game so far, which will be on towards Mouse on his Ekko, looking towards an Iceborne Gauntlet as his next pickup.
Look at this cheeky setup, though. So Saint are actually looking for a play to try to make on Scout, who has quietly amassed 2 kills for himself, and in that, Shu's actually been caught out.
Forces the Flash, still is able to escape with his life, so summon the spell burnt, but well spent coming in from Shu.
Again, former OMG support, known for his Thresh specialty, has looked strong in this game so far, despite a very aggressive deft in Meiko, putting him down at level 1.
And Saint showing they're not afraid just yet, putting down a couple of pink wards, retaining vision over this dragon, Baron Pit, sorry. But Dragon is going to be spawning in about 20 seconds here, so we'll have to see if Saint are going to be able to move down towards the bottom side of the map. And if they're happy with the backs that they've gone through and picked up the items they want here, as culling actually going to be put out by styz to try and clear the wave, but EDG able to take down the turret.
So Deft's done this a couple of times, and it's actually very cute. He's using his True Shot Barrage like Ash's Hawk Shot to gather sight. He is continuously throwing it at lanes, checking to see where junglers are, and in that instance trying to see who is where for a flank, as EDG just out-positioned Saint and took a free mid-tower.
And they're going to have the positional advantage over the Dragon Pit as well. We did mention this is the Cloud Dragon, so not one that a lot of teams like to fight over, so to speak, but with 2 dragons already being picked up by EDG, a third could do no harm, as clearlove is going to move down towards this pit and should be able to pick up a uncontested Dragon number 3. We'll be able to see what the 4th dragon has spawned. It is going to be another Cloud Dragon.
That is so unlucky. They are trying to take that as quickly as possible on the chance that they could roll for another Infernal or Mountain Drake that would make taking Baron, if it was a Mountain Drake, especially easy on a Kindred composition. But they get double Clouds.
Still get to run fast when they're out of combat. Can't complain.
It's going to be the last dragon before the Elder Drake, though, so... Kind of a bit of an unlucky RNG for EDG, but still well in control of this game, and they can start to look to set up for Baron. Again, the threat of a very early or snuck Baron on a Kindred comp for how far ahead clearlove is, still relevant.
And there's big spikes in items coming out from EDG's lineup. clearlove actually picks up his Runan Hurricane on the Kindred here, whereas we see Ezreal Def. He's picked up his Iron Boots of Lucidity and the Immortal Reminder coming in for his Ezreal, because he's Scout looking towards his Lichbane as the next item, sitting on a Rylos Crystal Scepter and the fully upgraded Hex Core at the moment.
Big Viktor. Also looking, like you said, for that Lichbane. We've seen this a couple of times. Who was it yesterday that did it? Dade?
Could have been.
No, it was on, he played the day before.
There was a couple of Victors actually rushed that Lichbane as their first item even after upgrading the Hex Core. I know it's a build that Spawn is very fond of. He likes the super damage potential it has. It's cleared up. Going to get hit by a hook there, but Deft and Meiko able to just poke out the chasing members of Saint and stop them from following up on the hook that she was landed.
There's actually not a lot to be gained from EDG playing this far forward in the mid lane. They have a very easy tower to amass in top side. I think this is them just confident that we're far stronger, so let's bait them into a fight.
You can see EDG grouping up as 5 through that mid lane. Power Convergence is actually being put down towards that turret. Acorn is still split pushing down to the bottom lane for Saint. Captain was looking to try and find a flank there, and here's the flank coming from Acorn. This is going to start a fight. Dev getting taken down really low here. Kindred ult's not going to be able to save him just yet. Now it goes down, but EDG taking so much damage from this Swain. They're all going to get healed up. Dev actually has to flash away as Saint looking good at this fight. Acorn picks up a kill. Nice pickup from Dev as he gets the snipe there, but he has to run for the hill. Snoopy and styz chase him down, flash forward, and pick up 2 kills. They trade 2 for 2.
Again, there was no reason for EDG to be there. They were obviously confident that they could just win the 5v5, but a nice teleport from Acorn puts EDG between a rock and a hard place as the jaws of life slowly crush in on them. And Deft actually misplayed. He Arcane shifted into a wall.
But Acorn here looking to try and take down Scout. Scout is going to be able to live to tell the tale, so I thought that was a 2 for 2. In fact, after the prolonged kill onto Acorn, it's eventually a 3 for 3. And, I don't think EDG too happy with that at the moment.
Okay, who I want you to watch is, it looks so good for EDG initially here, but here comes Acorn, and these are the jaws of life. The Kindred ultimate will go down now, and this allows enough time for the the Ezreal to get out of harm's way. He's actually going to flash over on the other side of the wall, and he'll snipe a few kills from this side with a really nice True Shot Barrage into Mystic Shot. There's the error there. He actually shifts into the wall and tags an auto attack onto Acorn, but not getting over that wall means that he can't reposition to try to pick up styz.
Saint, though, very aggressive here, looking to try and take down this Baron. There's no wards in the pit, but a lot of pings actually coming out from EDG. Seal takes a lot of damage from the Baron. It's down to about half health. Here comes Meiko. He spots them out. Parallel Convergence being put down by Mouse. He gets hooked up by Shield. True Shot Barrage comes out. This should be going over towards Saint. Katza picks up that buff, and now Scout looking to try and do what he can. Mouse is in the back lines. He uses his ultimate to try and stay alive. Saints are getting destroyed here as styz gets taken down by Mouse, but they still are able to pick up the Baron buff.
A greedy overreach by Saint, though, means that they only retain the Baron buff on a single member, Acorn. So EDG with a nice collapse will have to compete against the Baron gold and don't have another objective to draw Saint in to fight them over.
Let's see what EDG can do while the time of 4 members of Saint are down, only Acorn left up and alive, like you mentioned. They're going to be hunting for him. Saint, they're still about 2,000 gold behind this EDG lineup, and with this turret taken down, that's just going to get even further and further. They should be about 3,000 gold ahead of Saint.
But so much was lost over EDG's play trying to take that mid tower down. Again, I just think it was the confidence that they thought that they could for sure win that 5v5 and didn't respect the teleport flank from Acorn. But the easier objective to take on the map has always been that outer top tower. It would have been the safer route.
Now though, Saint do have the Baron buff on Acorn for quite some more time, but that's only one member that has the buff at the moment. They will be able to steal away the blue buff too, as the Dark Passage coming in for Seal takes Acorn to safety. We'll take a look at clearlove at the moment, looking towards picking up Hysterics Cage's Gromp. Just, a little bit of bad manners towards the Kindred jungler. Eventually we'll be able to take it down. A Scout, he's trying to defend this mid lane alone at the moment. Meiko is going to move in towards there to try and help him out. This turret's going to fall down though in favor of Saint. They pick up another objective on the map.
Just brute forcing it down. They have the GA now online for Snoopy, as well as Acorn's massive with the Baron buff. Excuse me, had it taken off of him.
We can see big item pickups coming in from both these teams as Captain is trying to look for a flank here. Might actually be able to find it. He's going to be able to jump in. That's a very short ward jump coming in from Captain, but is able to find Scout. Teleports are coming in. Lee Sin going to take a little bit of damage here. He's just wandering over the map as he gets taken down by Scout. That was interesting to say the least coming in from Captain.
Yeah. Okay, we'll let that one live. You get one. He got one. If it becomes a trend, then we'll start being concerning. But you get one in the LPL, Captain. Welcome to the professional league.
It happens sometimes.
It was a good attempt.
The one inch ward jump. It's an interesting decision. But Cloud Dragon is going to fall on over towards EDG, which means they have 4 dragons as this Elder Dragon spawns, and Saints have none at the moment.
Elder Dragon is what EDG will look towards. Again, they have the highest dragon control in the league last split and this split, so continuing to ring true in this game as we now look to siege.
They're trying to siege up against the Baron up minions coming in from Acorn's Baron buff that he still holds on to. Lots of damage will be put on towards his towers because Scout, he's already picked up his Lich Bane, will be able to chunk down these turrets if he ever gets an auto attack off Def. With the Guy Spawn Gauntlet, we'll be able to do the exact same thing. There's a lot of poke pressure coming out from all of the EDG members.
It's a siege-based composition. You have a lot of poke and zone threat from Ezreal, Viktor, as well as Ekko, throwing that parallel convergence, using the laser as well as the mystic shots. Just trying to slow them down with this Baron buff, but it should be falling off relatively quick. You
see lots of very tanky items being picked up on both sides of the ball. 2 Guardian Angels, one on Mouse, one onto Snoopy. So they're still putting a lot of pressure down on towards this Ryze. They're going to be able to blow that Guardian Angel, I feel. Snoopy's still able to stay alive somehow. Just behind his turret.
A really nice lantern from the Thresh, pulling him to safety and retaining his GA, so still has a lot of cost efficiency left in that item.
Still means they're going to lose that inner turret down in the bottom lane. Put them further into a gold deficit. They're 3,500 gold behind EDG at the moment.
It makes sense that EDG would play around the bottom lane right now, simply because they have a window to do so since Baron isn't up. Baron should be spawning probably within the next 2 minutes, 30 seconds. So teams starting to adjust and shift their focus towards the top side of the map. And this is what we were talking about. Saint, they have a really good late game composition. They have a really beefy front line in the likes of Ryze and Swain, but they don't have any consistent hard CC or any ways to get these 2 champions other than their own flashes or flanking teleports. It worked for Acorn last time simply because he was able to just walk up the mid lane, but I doubt that EDG will be so careless with their flanking wards in the future to allow that to happen again.
Well, they do have 2 teleports here, so there's a potential for both Acorn and Snoopy to try and find the flanks on towards this EDG lineup.
It also puts a lot of pressure on Captain, like we saw the last instance, to get that insect, find that ward hop, get that kickback.
Hopefully.
Next time.
Next time. Let's see if we can do that. Interesting item pickup coming in from clearlove. He's gone for the Frozen Mallet. I thought that was going to be a Hysterics Gauge for sure, but instead opting to augment his auto attacks to slow people down more and gets quite a bit of health from that item as well.
Here we go, though. Baron countdown is live, which means that EDG, immediately the assist pings go down. They want to move into the area and start setting up their pockets of true vision.
They have Mouse split pushing down to the bottom lane. His teleport's not quite up just yet, but it should be up and available once this Baron spawns. He's going to be continuing the split push down there. Nobody been sent to match him just yet. Now Acorn is going to be making his way down towards the bottom lane. Scout is actually massive at the moment. 6-0-2, 350
He's just
CS.
been quietly amassing so much gold.
He's almost 100 CS up over Snoopy at the moment.
And this is the thing. I mean, obviously Scout is not pawn, as Saint are actually trying to open up a play on the GA Ekko bottom. I don't think it's going to work out for them, but we'll see how much they invest in it.
Meanwhile, EDG don't have so many members pushing up in the top lane. This could be them taking down the turret. Seal is trying to hook trying to get a hook on towards Mouse, but Power Converge is going to lock down 2 members. They might not be able to take him down. They sent so many people into the bottom lane to try and stop this. It's not going to work. EDG, though, they decide to send everybody back to base and down towards the bottom lane.
I do like the recognition from Saint to realize that they could make a play like that. Yeah, I think that they invested a bit too much. They did manage to burn the flash out of Mouse, so not terrible. And Shu did a good job trying to position himself with the lantern really far behind the tower. But more importantly, recognizing Baron isn't up yet, we can punish this GA. We can punish this teleport. We can punish this top laner because we don't need to be around the purple monster.
And Baron is going to be coming up in 10 seconds as well as the countdown timer for the Dragon, which shows once Baron's up, it'll be up in a minute 30, and that'll be the Elden Dragon that EDG would definitely like to take down for themselves. Scout is going to be able to pick up a blue buff as he moves towards the pit. And EDG, the rest of their lineup is going to look to try and get as many wards down as possible and clear as much vision. Clearlove and Scout, though, opting to try and take this down immediately. Captain, Sonic Wave cannot try and clear wards. They're not going to split out any vision there. Now he sees this getting taken down, goes over the pit, flashes over immediately, not going to be able to get the smite down as Clearlove picks up the Baron for his team.
To be fair, level 17 to level 15, so it was an uphill climb for Captain to try to make that one happen for him, but great awareness from EDG, and the Mountain Dragon just helping out in spades to secure. Oh,
Steal actually coming up from deft, able to steal it away from Ryze. Snoopy was trying to take that one down.
Deft is just out of control on this Ezreal pick.
He certainly is.
He's a joy to watch.
EDG has 6,000 gold ahead of Saints at the moment with that Dragon spawning in 45 seconds. Elder Dragon will be up and online, but they're going to be very content with pushing with the Baron buff at the moment. As Captain, he's looking for a flank one more time here. Snoopy and Acorn still have their teleports, and there is a ward being placed down there, so it's a potential for a flank to come out with Captain wrapping around. Let's see if they can make a play happen. EDG already working to try and take down these turrets. Shield actually has to flash away. Here's Captain, actually kicks Deft forward, finds the Sonic Wave and the Resonating Strike, but a flash out coming in of Deft keeps himself alive. Now, EDG looking to try and take down Saint as they clear out Captain. Acorn faster to use the Zhonya's Hourglass as Shield gets taken down by Clearlove in the back lines. No, he's actually going to still stay alive with a sliver of health. Finally gets taken down by the red buff that was ticking as Mouse jumps back in towards the fight, but there's a lot of damage coming out for Snoopy as he picks up a double kill on towards Scout and Clearlove, and they trade 2 for 2.
Props for Acorn to slow that team fight down. His positioning with his Zhonya's Hourglass and Bird form actually zoned out Deft, and then he immediately followed up coming out of stasis by using Never Move. So Ezreal was locked out of that fight for a good 4 to 5 seconds.
Dev actually forced to use his flash in that engagement too. As we take a look at the replay, Frostgreen, and take us through this one.
Okay, so Captain, again, we told her you get 1. He finds the correct target this time around, does his best case scenario. Again, there's the flash from Ezreal to get himself back to safety. He shouldn't have that available next time. Captain, you gave your life. It was for a good cause. But check out where Acorn is and check out where Deft is. Immediately from the stasis, he puts down the Never Move, and so he locks Ezreal out of that fight for so long. And that's what ends up saving the inhibitor.
And Snoopy able to pick up 2 kills there, untouched, still had his Guardian Angel throughout the entire fight. We see lots of damage come after the 3 carries for the side of Saint, but Elder Dragon has spawned. It's actually Saint looking to try and take this one down. Clearlove and Scout nowhere to be seen. Elder Dragon might actually fall to Saint if EDG can't contest this one. Power Convergence does lock down Ekko for some time. Takes a lot of damage here. No Zhonya's Hourglass yet for the Swain. Elder Dragon gets taken out really low. Saint running for the heals as all their members are really low. Snoopy's GA actually gets popped here. And the rest of EDG trying to collapse on towards him. styz now gets sniped off by Dev. They find Snoopy as well. And that's a double kill coming over towards this Ezreal. EDG now looking towards Saint's base.
Those Hourglass nerfs really hurt Acorn there. Going from fight to fight, like you said, not having that stasis available means that he couldn't zone as effectively while in his ultimate form. And EDG actually split their damage that fight. Clearlove leashed the Elder Drake and didn't assist his team at all in terms of damage to champions, just finished off the epic monster.
And that was a 3-on-5 for so long. The goal deficit between these two teams really strong here as EDG, they have a 10,000 gold lead and they're looking to try and end this game. In fact, Mouse going to teleport back to base. Doesn't have his teleport available to come back into this fight. Instead, uses his ultimate. Now looking to try and take down this inhibitor turrets. The first one's going to fall. Second one falls for EDG. As Captain trying to do his best to stop this team. But the Nexus getting taken down so low. EDG are going to pick up game number 1 against Saint.
Just a quiet victory from EDG. It wasn't necessarily that bloodbath that we were expecting, but EDG still retaining so much control, particularly over the dragon and around the jungle.
You know, Frosco, we came into the game saying that this is a statement match coming from EDG. It's a lose-lose for them because they're expected to beat Saint in this matchup, and if Saint somehow win, that doesn't look good for EDG. But the only way EDG can come out trumps in this if they dominate. Was this a dominant performance coming in for this matchup? Do you feel that this was enough from EDG?
Again, I think a lot of people will go into this and say, you know, EDG